James Constantine, the championship leader, lining up alongside on the middle of the front row, and then 115, which is James Phillips, on the outside of row 1, and he has looked good earlier on in the day to be quickest in Q2. Treble 2 is on the second row of the grid, that being James Chisman in the Travel Masters car, and then number 9 of Don McLeod with 62 Phil Chicken completing the grid. That is how they line up then. It is a 6-lap final, and Tom Constantine, junior champion, is perhaps the man to beat, but he has been beaten. As we saw in August, it was honours for James Constantine. James Phillips has been quick across earlier races. Indeed, he topped, as I say, Q2. So let's see what he can do here as the drivers get the ready to race light. The natural light is fading fast at Lyndon, but we go racing, and a good start by Phillips. Not a great start by James Constantine. James Chisman gets rather boxed in there, in fact, as the cars go down towards Cheshunt's Drift for the first time. The only one that jokers is Don McLeod, and the one that is going to lead is Tom Constantine. James C is behind him, James Phillips to the outside line, and then James Chisman is in fourth in the bright yellow car. But across the loose they dance for the first time, and hard on the brakes going into the Devil's Elbow. Then number 7 leads the pack. Tom Constantine goes through with all of the available width of the road being exploited there as they make the climb up the hill. James Phillips then trying to find a way past James Constantine before Tom C builds up the gap. Out of the hairpin they come, ready to drop downhill. There is Tom Constantine, the leader. 2 or 3 lengths clear already, as you see 62 Phil Chicken doing his best in the Mike Boat prepared car to go after James Chisman, dropping down towards paddock. Across the loose though comes the Constantine family, the cousins. Tom ahead of James, third is James Phillips, their fourth is James Chisman. Phil Chicken is fifth and Don McLeod 6th. There's now Chisman jokers, gets that out of the way, so Chicken moves up 1 place. And Tom Constantine's advantage at the end of the opening lap, 0.6 of a second, but it's James Phillips in third, starting to drop back a little bit now. He looked really good earlier on in the day in qualifying, but when it counts, seemingly he is falling away from the Constantine family up front as Tom leads James as they make the climb now up the hill once more. Heading into the North Bend hairpin at the top of the Hairy Hill section of the circuit. Downhill they come then. Is it going to be 1-1 between Tom and James? Then at the end of the day, there's another round of the championship tomorrow, of course, to focus on as well. James Constantine has certainly not given up, as he's not settling for second. Tom Constantine heads up across the loose. James is second, and then James Phillips runs third, and the leading joker is fifth at the moment. That is James Chisman, as now to the joker lap goes. Out of third place, James Phillips. Is that going to help or hinder him in the outcome? Let's see. For the moment, Phil Chicken will go ahead of him, and rejoining as the best of the jokers, James Phillips then in fourth place ahead of James Chisman. So it's now a straight fight for the moment between the Constantines. There they are. 7, which is Tom, leads the way. At the back of the pack is number 9 there, Don McLeod. So the Border Force officer goes into the left at the Devil's Elbow, makes the climb up the hill as the 2 leaders to the eye, a little bit nearer maybe under braking that time was James Constantine. Makes the run downhill once again here. Turns his way through the right-hander and paddock across the loose section, which has got drier and faster as the road has improved throughout the day. Got an overnight and early morning rain made it really treacherous. It's still quite slippy offline if you go onto the loose, but it's certainly not as bad as it was at the start of the day. And incidents have been less as the road has improved and the traction has come back to them. So there you've got the top 2. And we're currently on lap number 4 of the 6, and none of the top 3 have jokered as yet. But I still think that the Constantines are going to be good. Depends who jokers when. If they joker together, it's going to be the same outcome, isn't it? But if it's going to be that they joker on different laps, maybe James has a chance. He should have, I would have thought by now, got that out of the way to see whether he can salvage anything with clear road ahead of him. But right now, staring at the back of Tom Constantine's car, they come down the hill once more into paddock. There is the fight to be the leading joker driver thus far. James Phillips ahead of James Chisman. Down they go into paddock. And Phillips then coming under attack as he goes just a little bit deep into the corner, sprinting his way now through the chicane up towards the timing line. Up front, James Constantine has jokered, so there is Tom on his own, and James rejoins in second place, then stays ahead of the Phillips-Chisman battle by some margin as well. So the Constantine's well clear right now. In fact, if anything, Phillips is being delayed by having to defend from Chisman. And there Tom Constantine makes the run up into the hairpin once again. He should have enough in hand now to hang on to the advantage, but Chisman is all over Phillips like a rash, isn't he? And he makes his move and he goes through, in fact, climbing the hill. So James Phillips' pace, oddly, has ebbed away rather than improving as the day has worn on here. They come now out of the North Bend hairpin as the last lap ball is being prepared for Tom Constantine. There behind him, going through, James Constantine in second place. Tom has to joker. There he is on that joker lap already. He gets into the slower section now, that right left and then over the jump, but he's well clear up front, and there's fire in fact coming from underneath a car further back, which by the look of it might be James Phillips, and that would, there he is parking the car. That would explain perhaps why the pace has dropped away, because he's got a problem. And there was a big flash of flame I saw from underneath it as he went over the line. He's parked the car on this last lap. So James Phillips, sadly, is going to be a retirement. Tom Constantine is going to be the race winner unless he makes a mistake right at the very end, because he comes now down the hill. So Tom Constantine looks as though he is set for a race win. He turns his way into paddock. The checkered flag is at the ready. James Constantine, his cousin, is right there behind him, but where Swifts are concerned, the Constantine name reigns once more. Tom wins then round 2 of the championship from James Constantine in second place. Third goes the way of James Chisman. Fourth will be Phil Chicken, and a rather distant fifth, Don McLeod, and that is the reason for all the drama down at turn 1, and it is James Phillips' rather hot and bothered car, and oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, is that therefore staring at not being able to take part tomorrow. Let's hope that's not the case, but it's a rare drama to have, a big engine failure like that, or a spectacular problem from the engine bay for James Phillips.